Boys, the Emperor's Envy is a fusion rifle from the raid, and it may turn some of us PvP players into PvE players because it is nasty in a lot of different aspects. It's nasty in PvE, and it's definitely nasty in PvP. But if you're like me, and you've been using main ingredient your whole life here in Destiny 2, you know the power that main ingredient holds. Well, Emperor's Envy holds maybe that and even some more. So let's talk about it. Again, guys, shout out to Bombad for getting the weapon. He is the one that got it. He got it from a chest within the new raid lair. So shout out to him, man. With that being said, let's talk about these perks. Guys, you're going to see some projection fuse action going on. Essentially, that is the default magazine perk on it. Essentially, it keeps it around 48 per bolt, which is not what you want. The sweet spot is the next one, liquid coils. That's the thing that makes main ingredient really sweet. Now, it does throw that charge time up to 780. Originally, it's 740. Understand, the higher the charge time, the longer it takes to charge. The lower, the faster. Now, the sweet spot, the reason why I'm calling liquid coils the sweet spot, is that is 50 damage per bolt. So essentially, 4 bolts will pretty much kill everyone, okay? Unless they're just rocking super high resilience, but I do not see that often. I also write moving target along with its trait, Rampage. Guys, do you see what I'm spelling out for you fellas? This thing is essentially main ingredient with an extra perk. As in, main ingredient, when you look at that gun, it has a bunch of different sight options, right? I usually go with the clean shot sight. And then, of course, you've got your battery options, your magazine options, and then you've got your one trait. This one is essentially not giving you an option for sights, but instead it gives you an option between 3 different traits. And the combination of Rampage with moving target as well as liquid coils, oh, it's just nasty, man. But the question is, can this legendary fusion rifle dethrone main ingredient in PvP? I would say that to me, I was finding it more favorable. Moving target is just such a nice perk to have. You know, main ingredient has the kill potential with Rampage. It's very good with liquid coils, but having that one extra perk to help snag onto those targets, especially with mobility being such a big factor against a shitload of Arc Striders, it's really nice to be able to just have something that just kind of help you along to snag those targets. Sorry, PC group, I know you don't need this or use this, but for us console guys, this is pretty nice. Now, with that being said, there was some complaints I have to mention that I have about this weapon. I don't necessarily like the handling speed because main ingredient is kind of something I get used to the handling. The masterwork that I'm using for it is stability, and I usually use the same masterwork for main ingredient, which is another stability mod. It's only 5 stability, but it does make a difference in terms of keeping those bolts together. I noticed that once we got into the 20 meter, the 25 meter range, which I know is asking a lot to get a one-hit kill, but in those ranges, I saw a lot of spread in the bolts. And so even though this fusion is a very good fusion, a very powerful fusion, it usually took me like 2 shots to kill someone at a range. Whereas, you know, main ingredient doesn't necessarily even get the kills at those ranges either. See, that's the thing. In the beta, it did. But I think there's been some reworks, and plus mobility is such a factor. People are strafing a little faster. You don't necessarily get those long-reaching one-hit kill ranges with these fusion rifles outside of Telesto, but that's because Telesto doesn't have any damage drop-off because of its crystals. So in terms of hierarchies of fusion rifles, to me, like I said, 780 charge time, which is what liquid coils allows, is very nice. That's the sweet spot. The combination of perks between moving target and Rampage is also really nice. This is a very good fusion rifles. Guys, it's definitely in my top 5 for PvP fusions. But wait, hey, it doesn't stop there, guys. No, it does not. This thing, despite it being a good PvP fusion, I think was actually designed to be more of a PvE fusion. That's right, boys. I brought it into the heroic strikes yesterday. It had the power modifier as well as the solar modifier, and this thing was eating some people up. Now, the beautiful thing about this, of course, depending on the burn, you could just swap it. But I like the fact that you can get Ionize battery in combination with Ambitious Assassin and Rampage. Boys, do you hear what I'm spelling out for you? You are going to be rocking 3 stacks of Rampage constantly when using this weapon, and you are doing massive amounts of damage. And there is not many fusion rifles rocking that type of kill potential with 8 rounds to a mag. This is a hell of a gun, guys. Definitely a weapon to get your hands on. Definitely a weapon to even go after. Even if you're not a PvE player, just do the raid or at least get through the first couple of phases, because the first 2 phases of the raid is pretty easy, right? It's just the last phase that's really hard, but get through those first 2 phases, get a hold of the chest, because this weapon is definitely definitely worth your time. Guys, thank you so much coming and watching this video. So I'm going to be covering as many of the trial and raid weapons as I can. So feel free to comment down below which ones you want me to look at next. Guys, thank you so much coming and watching the video. And as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.